Listen, if you clicked on this video, there's a reason you clicked on it, so please just give me a few minutes of your time and let me tell you this. Maybe you're in middle school or in high school and other kids bully you. Or your parents don't accept you. And people say you won't amount to anything. But no matter what happens, always remember it gets better. And someday, when you're the beautiful, successful person you were always meant to be, you can look at everyone who ever said you were stupid or ugly or a loser or a freak, and you can say you were wrong. I'm beautiful. I'm successful. I'm happy. I love myself. There's a burden a lot of LGBTQ plus people feel. The burden of proving their bigots wrong. I recently found a journal entry I wrote shortly after I arrived at Bard College, titled, "It's Getting Better." Things got better for me almost immediately when I got to college, and I'm saying that only my fourth full day here. And maybe I'm speaking too soon, but I don't think I am. I not only feel increasingly more optimistic, but also more happy and content with my life and myself. The day after my mom dropped me off, I began dressing the way I wanted to. The first day, I wore a really cute shirt with a cat on it, and some cool skinny jeans with a purple night sky-like design on them. I also wore eyeliner, mascara, lipstick, and blush. When I went to the cafeteria and the activities that day, nobody cared about how I dressed. Most people seemed quite unfazed by it. The only attention I got was all positive. People complimenting my outfit. For the first time in a really long time, I felt at peace. For several years, I have felt like I was hiding a part of myself. And I feel like this hindered my social interactions. But now, even without telling people I'm trans, I feel liberated to be myself and don't feel like I'm lying to everyone. The second day, I wore high heels and a skirt as well as still wearing makeup. I think I may have gotten a few more odd looks, but for the most part, the reaction was about the same. I wore a skirt again the third day, and I remember a moment where I looked at myself in the mirror with the skirt and felt so whole. I felt beautiful looking at myself, which used to be very uncommon for me. When reflecting on the optimism I began my college experience with, I recognized the better side of myself, a part of me that strives to take responsibility for my own happiness. I'm glad I began my experience at Bard College with a positive attitude. Even if that outlook didn't last throughout my whole time at Bard, I think that beginning the experience with hopes for a better future helped me have a more fulfilling experience than I might have if I immediately approached the prospect of my new life at college with the self-deprecating cynicism that often consumes me. Right away, when I came to Bard, I made a point to try to talk to people. I'm naturally more introverted when it comes to socializing with people I don't know very well, but I knew that I wanted to make the most of my experience at Bard. And so I decided to try to be more of an extrovert and begin to form as many relationships as possible. I wanted to learn from my mistakes in high school and use that to make a better social life for myself in college. LGBTQ plus people often feel the need to prove their bigots wrong. Prove to their homophobic parents that their gay relationship is perfect and happy, thank you very much. Prove that no haters, my bisexuality is not just a phase, thank you very much. I'm in a very gratifying relationship with someone of the same gender right now, for your information. Prove, hey, I might be transgender, but I'm not crazy, I'm not insane. I have a happy life with a rewarding job and hopeful prospects. And it's great if your gay relationship is healthy and can be an example of the truth that, yes, gay couples are just as capable of having healthy, stable, and joyful relationships as straight couples. And it's great if you're a trans person who loves yourself and leads a happy, healthy, fulfilling life. But what happens if you struggle? What happens if you find yourself in a relationship that's dysfunctional or toxic or perhaps even abusive? What happens if you're trans and you're struggling to find a job where your coworkers won't constantly misgender and mock you? Or you're struggling to pay for medically transitioning, or you're struggling with your mental health, facing substance abuse, self-harm, perhaps even considering suicide? What if you're trans and you're diagnosed with a mental condition that has a lot of social stigma and misconceptions and prejudice that come with it? Schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, autism, anxiety, personality disorder. What if you come out as trans or bisexual or gay or asexual, but then you start to doubt whether that label really suits you? See, you imagine them say, it was just a phase. Because LGBTQ plus people often face marginalization and ostracism from their family and peers, I think we sometimes give ourselves the extra burden of using our lives to try to prove them wrong. I'm not a freak. I'm not disgusting. I'm not crazy. I'm not mentally ill. I'm successful. I'm happy. I'm stable. I'm responsible. I'm a good person. And it feels good when you can prove bigots wrong. But it puts pressure on you. And if you're in a relationship, it puts pressure on your relationship. You begin to fear, what if people use my personal failings, my professional failings, my moral failings against other gay people, against other trans people, against other LGBTQ people? It can warp your priorities. You shouldn't pretend your romantic relationship doesn't have any problems just because you want it to serve as an example of a healthy gay relationship. You should work on improving your relationship for the sake of the well-being of your partner and you, and consider ending the relationship if it's unhealthy. You shouldn't pretend that you're happy with your life just so you can prove that being trans isn't something to be ashamed of. You should allow yourself to get help from those close to you or from a professional if you're struggling with your mental health, so you can feel more empowered to pursue a life that brings you happiness, regardless of how others judge your success. And whatever labels you use to explain your sexuality or your gender identity, the important thing is having an understanding of who you are and what kinds of relationships you want to pursue or don't want to pursue. And having language you can use to communicate the truths about your sexuality or your romantic preferences or your gender you feel you should communicate with others, regardless of how others conceive your sexuality or your gender. I decided to frame this as specifically an LGBTQ plus phenomenon because I'm making this video based on my own experiences and the experiences of others I've observed. But it relates to a larger phenomenon, and I think it's one that particularly affects people coming of age during the rise of social media. A friend recently showed me Burnham's comedy special, Make Happy. And the part of the special that most resonated with me was the part where he described his generation, my generation, as a generation of performers.
Social media, it's just the market's answer to a generation that demanded to perform. So the market said, here, perform everything to each other all the time for no reason. It's prison. It's horrific. It is performer and audience melded together. What do we want more than to lie in our bed at the end of the day and just watch our life as a satisfied audience member?
Shakespeare proclaimed the world a stage and all people merely players acting upon it. And he spoke to this truth. Even without social media, we as humans all constantly perform based on the expectations of others. But social media accentuates and constantly records our performances, revealing the discrepancies in our acts. And how can we adjust our performances to obscure these personal inconsistencies when social media preserves our posts in their original intended form? Which Ariel is most real? Is it Facebook Ariel? Is it Twitter Ariel? Is it Tumblr Ariel? Is it YouTube Ariel? Is it the other YouTube Ariel? Is it Instagram Ariel? Is it LinkedIn Ariel? If you meet me in real life, and I smile and you ask me how I'm doing, and I say, I'm great, But then you scroll through my Tumblr and then you find a long rambling post I made 3 minutes ago about how I'm a failure and how I'm a bad person and how I fucked up and how I'm destined to follow a path of self-destruction. Does that mean the Ariel you met in real life was fake? I don't know how to solve these problems. It's easy to blame social media for a lot of the shitty realities many of us live in, but it's not as simple as that. In many ways, social media has undeniably improved our lives, and in particular has given voice to LGBTQ+ people and other vulnerable groups of people who traditional corporate media typically would not have given voices to 20 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe even now. Just think about the role social media has played in important social movements like Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement. But I think an overwhelmingly negative symptom of social media is a hyper-awareness of our performances. How am I performing as a transgender role model? How are we performing as a couple? How am I performing as a parent? How am I performing as an ally? How am I performing as a moral human being? And while it's important to be aware of how your life and your choices affect others, you'll never be perfect. You'll fuck up. I've fucked up many times. And I'm trying to be better. But I know I'm gonna keep on fucking up sometimes until I die. And that's okay. Your life shouldn't be an example for others to strive for. Your life shouldn't be the proof that dispels all homophobic and transphobic arguments. Your life should be your life. A life where you try your best to make choices that will empower yourself and hopefully improve the lives of people with whom you interact. For the record, all the videos on this channel, they're performances. Performances where I try to embody the person I want to be. The person I think I should be. I don't show myself at my worst, and I don't plan on ever showing myself that way anywhere online. I have secrets about my life I've never shared anywhere online, and I never will. And that's okay. Just because this video and all videos I've ever made are performances doesn't mean they're lies. But it's something I think about. And I think it's something we all should think about. How do we portray ourselves online and how do we exist offline? How do we exist? How do we think? What do we feel when we're not performing for anyone? Don't live your life to spite your bigots or to placate your concerned loved ones. Live an honest life for yourself and for the people who actually care about your well-being.